Hello and welcome to GG Podcasts. This is our episode 1, season 1, and we're just going to introduce ourselves, kind of go around the table, and talk a little bit about ourselves. I'm the producer, Brady Shaw. I'm from the Maryland, Delaware area, and I'm the face-off guy for a D3 team, Maryland Men's Lacrosse.
My name is Robbie Gift. I'm one of the co-hosts. I'm an attackman, and I'm from the Lexington, Kentucky area, and I go to D3 school called Earlham College.
Yep, I am rounding out the Three Musketeers, also going to Earlham College playing midfield. My name is Elijah Gamber, and I am a proud Philly John, born and raised, so go Eagles.
And with that, let's get into our podcast.
Hi, y'all. Welcome to GT Lacrosse Podcast. This is your host, Elijah Gamber, with Robbie Gift and our producer, Brady Shaw. We're so excited to be talking to you this week and announcing the start of this podcast. We have so much knowledge to give y'all, so much we want to hear from your questions. We'll look forward to having a lot of fan feedback throughout this process. You're always excited to DM us on Instagram at GG Pockets or reach out to us. That being said, we are currently getting back from a trip to watch, who was it playing again? We were some men's club lacrosse.
When we were able to see Indiana Bloomington play the University of Kentucky today in a club game. Shout out to Indiana University for beating the socks off Kentucky. It was 8-0 at halftime. Great showing from the boys there. But as a Kentucky native myself, I think this is huge for the game of lacrosse because, two teams in areas where lacrosse isn't super popular coming together. It's great for the game of lacrosse, even if it's a total beatdown. And lacrosse in any form of capacity out of Kentucky is great because college programs are few and far between. So getting them at the club level is great. It's great to see, kids getting sticks in their hands and being active and being a part of it.
Yeah, and we really can't talk too much because they looked a lot better than some D3 teams, a lot better than even some low-end D2 teams. So
absolutely,
they definitely have a high quality of play, and I'm excited to see more from them. I really hope that one day they become D2, D3, something of that level. That being said, we've also seen a huge change this year. 2 new D1 teams, Lindenwood and Queens. Quite frankly, a little bit of a rough start. It's always going to be hard coming into the D1 level, beating established teams. That being said, they were great teams previous to this, so I have no doubt that after a few years they'll be mighty fearsome.
Absolutely. You can't expect a whole lot coming up to D1, especially as competitive as D1 lacrosse is. It's a battle week in and week out, but huge for the game of lacrosse, huge for those areas and those schools, and can't wait to see how the future of those programs develop, and just excited for their seasons this year.
Yeah, and then with that, we're going to move on to our D2 game of the week. Quite frankly, we have an absolute smackdown. Anderson, South Carolina versus Chowan.
Yep. Game from schools down in the South Carolina area. A kid from Anderson dropped a whopping 11 goals today and shot 79%. Huge showing from him. Huge team guy. Looks like he's making a huge impact over there in D2, and excited to see what else Anderson can do this year. Seems like they have a whole lot of momentum.
Yeah, I'd highly encourage y'all to check that game out. Watch the film if you're an aspiring attackman, just to learn about the game of goal scoring, because 79% is absolutely phenomenal. I would dream of the day like that as a midfielder. I think any of us would. Maybe with like a couple more assists, but really can't say anything with 11 goals. That's crazy.
Yep.
To contrast that, we're going to start talking about some D1. We're going to be talking about the Q's game. And my question is, are they back? What do you think, Robbie?
Obviously, super young team. They got a lot of young guys in there. Huge highlight, Joey Spallina. If you want to compare shooting percentage to that D2 game, Joey Spallina only shot about 7%, 1 for 15. However, I'm trying to understand the position he's in. I get what he's going. I'm trying to understand what he's going through. He's been handed the keys to this offense at a really young area, and he's got the weight of the number 22 on his back. But ultimately, they got the win, and and I'm excited for the program in the future. I think this year is going to be not the greatest year, maybe not even as good as last year, but definitely the future of that program should be bright. A lot of young guys, a lot of super talented guys, and they can only go up from here. But a good way to start your season with a win over Vermont. So looking forward to see how the Orange turn out this year.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the hater camp myself, to be completely frank. I think winning by that narrow of a margin, only 2 goals in a defensive battle, 7-5. To be totally frank, Vermont isn't quite good enough with the team for that to be so close with such a storied program as Syracuse. And if we're really buying the Spallina hype, he had a lot of good shots, a lot of good takes, but also a lot of bad takes, to be completely frank. The ball kind of was dying in his stick. I don't know if y'all watched that game, but there were a lot of really good players who were making plays. Finn Thompson looked great out there. I don't know if you saw that BTB pass onto crease. Oh, my God, what a good Canadian play.
Big showing from Finn Thompson, also another freshman. Good to see him getting his feet wet. And great to see Owen Hiltz back, having the year off last year with the injury. It's good to see, a guy who's as creative and excited to play with a lot of young guys who are also in the same boat of excitement and skill. So huge growth coming for them, But yeah, it's good to see. Hopefully there's some more success under their belt.
It'll be really curious to see how Joey Spallina kind of responds to this, see how he grows, whether he looks to maybe feed a little bit earlier, pass it off a little quicker, and even just initiate his dodge a little quicker as well. Again, I'm saying this is a washed-up D3 player, so who am I to judge? He'll score more points in high school than I'll ever score in my life, but ball was dying in his stick. That being said, the defense looks phenomenal from Syracuse. I mean, I guess it's the new head coach, all-time great, but that was sharp.
Yeah. A lot of impressive defensive play. It's great when you've got Coach Petro back there commanding your defense. Can't really go wrong with that. Like you said, one of the all-time greats back there helping him. So I think the defense really helped him out in this game. Should be a lot more offensive production. A lot of learning this week and film for them and practice this week. But excited to see them back out there and see what they can do.
I guess the last question before we move on to the next team: where do you think Hughes is going to fall ratings-wise? Are they cracking the top 20?
I think, ultimately with the conference they're in, the ACC being so top-heavy, it's going to be tough to jump up through there and really win conference games. And I'm not totally sure what their non-conference schedule is, but I think if they can try to get ranked this year, that'd be great. If they can hit around 15, huge year for them. That would be a huge year for them. But if they can get ranked, that would be good. It'd be a good way to end it, and a lot of positive momentum moving into next year's season.
I think losing Dordovic is really hard. I think that they have a really young offense, as you were saying earlier, 3 freshmen. That being said, I also think that just getting ranked would be huge after a 4-win campaign last time. That was kind of a rough season last year, and just getting ranked would be huge.
Yeah, I agree. Losing guys like Dordovic, who looking forward to seeing him tear it up at Georgetown this year, and guys like Brendan Curry. Those are definitely big holes to fill. But with these freshmen that have come in, hopefully we see more of an impact from them, and definitely look for a lot of future growth from the Orange.
All right, so let's talk about the Jacksonville Hopkins game. All 3 of us were watching that intently. Got a little heated. I'm a hater. I love to watch Jacksonville. I thought they were going to pull away and win it early on, but Johns Hopkins held on, had a big run in the end, came back to win it 12-7. I want to hear from our producer, Brady Shaw. What did you think of that as a fan? What did you think of that as a face-off guy? I know you had some hot takes on the face-off position, so what were you thinking?
I mean, in all honesty, we started out rough that game. I mean, we lost a lot of players this year, a lot of great attackmen. We lost D. Simone, we lost Keogh, who was a midi, and frankly, a lot of guys who led that offense. So not having them there was, I'm sure, a big change to all the guys. But in the end, I think towards the 3rd and 4th quarter, whatever they did in the locker room, whatever they said, definitely helped. I'm just glad they came back.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be frank, I mean, it looked like they were not going to at first. The Jacksonville defensive unit was all over them. The D middies looked dominant. I mean, I would not want to dodge on them at all. Robbie, what were you thinking about that game?
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see Hopkins not finally, but win one here, start the season over a team that's been so hot like Jacksonville. Looking for a lot of positive things from them. Yeah, slow start for sure. I think their goalie played a huge game. He played really well.
Yeah,
very, very impressive play from their goalkeeper. But I think as many scorers they had multiple people moving the ball, multiple people putting the ball in the back of the net. So definitely looks like it's going to be hopefully a good season for the Blue Jays, and I think that's what the lacrosse community's been wanting for a while, because they want to see the Blue Jays be successful. So.
Yeah, and I gotta say, Jacksonville's defense was very strong.
Absolutely. I think they're going to be quite the program to mess with next year. I think that this is not an indication of where they're going to end this year. I think it's actually more of a plus for Hopkins than it is really a negative for Jacksonville, as cliche as that may sound.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I also think that kind of Hughes and Hopkins are in that similar boat of these really storied programs that would be great to see back. And it's kind of nice that they both won their first games. I'm really hoping that just sort of for the sport of lacrosse that we get back to those roots. As much as I like to see new programs, I think it's been a while since we've seen those like really legendary programs, succeed at the highest level. I know Hopkins has been in the Final Four in, what was it, 2018?
Yeah, it's not been too long. So yeah, it's hopefully we get to see them back. But yeah, for sure, Jacksonville shouldn't take it too hard. They got a huge season ahead of them, and Hopkins is for sure a worthy opponent. But can't wait to see Hopkins at Homewood this year, see what they do at home, and see what they can get the fans feeling. Excited for them.
Yeah, and with that, I think we're going to move on to the Ohio State Air Force game. We tried to watch it. To be completely frank and completely honest, they are filming on a potato. We bought the Big Ten Network pass, and oh my God, did it look like one of our lowly D3 under budget games.
Definitely made it tough to watch, but for sure a great showing for the Buckeyes, and Jack Myers in particular, with a big 4 goals and 5 assists, and in their brand new stadium. Huge for them, huge for the Buckeyes. Excited for a big season this year. One of the few teams that were able to fight with Maryland last year in the regular season. Couldn't get it done, but definitely a huge season for them. And it's exciting. They've got a really strong defense. You got a guy like Bobby Van Buren down there. You're about set, and absolute dog. Especially even last year as a freshman, his ability to capture every matchup, even with guys that are Tewaaraton finalists and guys that are tearing it up every single week in college lacrosse. It's super helpful having a guy like that down there. So excited to see what the Buckeyes do this year, and especially excited to see what Jack Myers will do. Look for him to be a Tewaaraton finalist here at the end of the year.
Absolutely. I would like to finish off by stating publicly and for the record, Ohio State, please spend some of your probably $1 million budget on a better camera.
Absolutely. Yep.
That being said, I think that we're trying to move into our changes and chances. We really want to talk about where programs are going to lie in the future. What do we predict? What are we thinking? What are our dark horses for this upcoming season? And maybe a little bit of an overreaction. Who kind of fell off? Who do we think is not going to be living up to the hype? Robbie, you want to start off? Any dark horses? Who do you think is going to be maybe your top 5 teams?
I'd say my top 5 teams. Obviously, Maryland, so deep last year, even with losing a lot of huge guys in Wisnauskas and some other people. Like, you can't expect Maryland just to fall off like that. They had a huge showing this week against Richmond. A lot of guys scored, so looks like they're back. Look to see them in the top 5. I don't know if they're top 1, but look for Maryland. I'd say also Virginia, huge team. They got Schellenberger leading that offense. Definitely also going to be a Tewaaraton finalist there. And then also look for Notre Dame. Going to be a hungry team this year after not making the tournament last year, which is unbelievable. After being one of the only teams that was able to contend with Maryland, I think it's going to be exciting to see them. They got some fresh, solid freshmen coming in. They got Entenmann and Cage, unstoppable. They got such a solid attack line with both the Kavanaugh brothers.
Potential Tewaaraton winner. And Tewaaraton,
exactly.
Top 3 candidate right now.
Definitely in Pat Kavanaugh. Could see a huge year from him. Defense is going to be well rounded with Chris Fake coming over from Yale. Guy's been around forever, but definitely a dog. Excited to see him. And in the midfield, they're super stacked as well with Tevlin coming in and the guys they had last year. So remember last year they had a big issue with the face-off. Hopefully they've got that figured out and can keep that together. I think it'll be a big season for the Irish. I think also look to see Duke in there. Always going to be a competitive team. And they've got Brennan O'Neill leading them up. I think Brennan O'Neill is probably going to be my pick to win the Tourton. I think if a guy's as dominant as he is not afraid of anybody, is going to beat everybody he plays, there's not a whole lot you can do about that. Even with guys that are as dominant as Kavanaugh and Schellenberger and even Hanley from Penn, it's tough to compete with Brennan O'Neill and trying to battle with him every week.
I think you make a really good argument. My first pick for a program and Tourton winner is Virginia, led by Connor Schellenberger. I think that his ability to use both hands, he kind of does everything. I think he's the most talented player in lacrosse right now. I don't think there's anybody who does what he does. In college lacrosse.
Yeah, that's a hot take.
No. Let me be clear. No Lyle Thompson, but in college lacrosse right now, I think he's unrivaled because he can use both hands in a way that nobody else can.
For sure, definitely. I mean, he'll beat you from X. He'll beat you from up top. Guy shoots the piss out of the ball. So, absolute field general. knows what to do. Great at commanding everybody. Still got another year left after this. So excited to see.
And they've been competitive for a while too. So that's why I have them at number one. I've followed them up, Maryland. I just don't know how you can put Maryland below them. I know they've lost Wisnauskas. I know that every year they seem to lose somebody great. They've lost Jaron Burkhart 2 years ago. They just keep coming back. At this point, it feels Bill Belichickian. I mean, they're always top four. It's kind of bonkers.
Absolutely, yeah.
My kind of dark horse is Georgetown. I saw a couple spicy takes on this one, and I fully bought in. The hot take was Georgetown's second line midfield is equivalent to UNC's attack.
Yeah, definitely impressive. They've been tearing up the transfer portal both this year and last year. Remember, they got a lot of big guys in, so look for them to be an absolute offensive powerhouse. Huge addition in Dordovic. Great Hughes player. Excited to see him play this year with, not to put Hughes down, but last year it wasn't like he had the greatest resources around him.
Absolutely.
But this year coming into Georgetown, maybe a little bit more deep of a team that's got a little bit more, meat on its bones that can help support Dordovic a little bit. I think they're for sure going to make a deep run, and I think it will be a huge year for them because I think this time last year a lot of people were saying the same thing about the Georgetown team last year, and they had that big devastating loss to Delaware in the first round. So it's going to be a big year, definitely a huge bounce back year for Georgetown, but look for some exciting things from them, especially on the offensive side of the ball in Tucker Dordovic.
Absolutely. And then after my top three, it's really hard to pick the next ones. There's kind of the pack really tightens. I have Cornell coming out of the Ivy. I think the Ivy is the strongest conference currently. And then I have Notre Dame as well, but that could really be swapped out with Rutgers because I'm a homer, born and bred in New Jersey. So to be frank, it's kind of hard not to have Rutgers given their historic performance the last couple of years. But I think Notre Dame is just a little bit stronger right now. I think that I agree. I mean, they were absolutely disrespected by not being in the tournament. And that being said, I'm kind of curious, who do you think is the best conference right now? I mean, there's so many great teams. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, just about every conference has, the top 2 or 3 teams in every conference are going to be the guys that are competitive every week. But I mean, when you really sit down and look at it, the most full conference, I mean, it's probably the Ivy League. Other than Dartmouth, everybody in that conference can probably beat just about anybody in the country.
I know. It's absolutely kind of bonkers because you have Cornell, you have Princeton, you have Harvard, who I think can easily win it all. You have Brown, who is phenomenal, maybe not quite on the same level. And then you have Penn with, I mean, if he was an attackman.
Yeah, with Sam Hanley there at midfield, such a huge addition. Will be a Tourton finalist. I don't think he'll win it. He just doesn't have the ball in his stick as much as an attackman.
Right.
But him on the field is huge. Look for a huge year from every single Ivy League team except for Dartmouth. But
I love the hate. I love the salt.
But yeah, look for a lot of dominance from the Ivy League as a whole. I mean,
right. But can the Ivy League really compete with the top 1 to 3 schools of the upper conferences? I mean, think about Big Ten. Think about ACC. Are you really? I mean, Virginia and Maryland are the best teams.
Yeah,
To
I
be
mean,
totally
we'll
frank.
have to see how Maryland competes with the Ivies this year. Obviously, last year they got it done, having that huge season, undefeated, but definitely played some close ones with teams like Princeton, and then hopefully we get to see some Ivies back in it this year. But yeah, I mean, I think it'll for sure be tough. I mean, regardless of who the top team in each conference is, it's going to be a battle week in and week out. But I mean, the Ivy is so competitive in its own. I mean, it'll be just so awesome to watch how the Ivy builds up this year, and it'll be so tough. I think determining long run who the best conference is going to be, because I mean last year with Notre Dame and Duke not making the tournament after two really good seasons, I think both those teams can compete with the best Ivy team. So
Duke was also frankly disrespected.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I mean, it's so hard to. Honestly, they might need to expand college lacrosse playoffs at some point because there's so many good teams nowadays.
I think so, yeah. The competitiveness that is seen within college lacrosse is crazy. I would say it's not even like any sport. I mean, if you look at it in college football, like nobody's really competing with the top 3 to 5 teams ever. It's blowouts almost outside of that. College basketball, occasionally we see an upset. Purdue got upset.
You get one Cinderella story per March Madness. Everyone roots for them. They always lose around 8 or 4, round of 8 or 4.
But yeah, the competitiveness of college lacrosse is definitely, it's great because it's the expansion of lacrosse as a whole is good, and it'll be exciting to hopefully here in a few years see a few more teams added to the tournament. Good for the fans, good for the game, good for the players. I think it'll be good to see. But yeah, I think the Ivies as a whole is the most deep conference. It's going to be an absolute battle every week you play them. So yeah, look for some excitement from all the conferences, but especially the Ivies.
Absolutely.
I mean, what do you guys think? What are your favorite moments? I mean, honestly, from mine, having Hopkins, they have 2 pole goals. One of them was in like the first minute.
Yeah, a lot of defensive action a lot of defensive players on the offensive side of the ball. Always great to see. Huge juice goals for everybody. So, I mean, favorite moment. I don't know. That's a tough one. I mean,
yeah, there's a lot of great moments this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, being kind of a Penn State fan, it was good to see them knock the socks off of Lafayette, 21-11, I think it was.
That sounds right.
Yeah, so hopefully they can have a bounce back. Huge, terrible year last year, but looking forward to seeing how they do this year. It'll definitely be a tough in conference play, but should be excited to see them play and see how they progress throughout the year.
As a Rutgers homer, I have to say that Tante Kulas had a great opening game, shot 83%, 5 goals, 3 assists, 8 points, and an absolute dominant win. There's nothing really quite as good as your home team winning. Nothing quite as fun as that feeling of just watching them kind of put on a clinic. No offense to Marist, but I mean, it's kind of what college lacrosse is all about. Sometimes I really wish that I had gone to a big state school to feel that pride and joy, and really revel in it with tens of thousands of fans. But it's just so good to see your home team win. And with that, I'm kind of wondering, where do y'all think? I mean, you're a Penn State guy / Notre Dame guy. Just a little bit of a weird mix. You're a Hopkins guy. I'm a Rutgers guy. Where do we think that our teams are going to place? Are they making the tournament? I mean, maybe not. Penn State, maybe not. Hopkins, maybe not. What are we thinking?
Yeah, in all honesty, I don't think Hopkins is going to have a good year. I mean, week 2, next week, they're playing Georgetown, which we've already talked about.
Yeah, that's a really brutal matchup. I mean, they're probably my 3rd team. They're absolutely going to be filthy.
Going to be an absolute kicking for sure. But
yeah,
can't really escape those matchups. And I would say the same for Penn State. Great opening, but they're playing Lafayette. Hopefully they can get it done in non-conference play, because it's for sure going to be really tough in conference play. But on the side of Notre Dame, though, like we discussed earlier, huge season for them. Really looking forward to seeing them play. I think we could see them for sure in the Final Four, if not the national championship game. So excited to see how LA progressed. Right.
Well, I'm glad you have that much pride for your team. As much as I love Hopkins, I don't think we're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, I think for me at Rutgers, we're looking for a pretty easy start of the season. I mean, none of them are absolute gimmies, but Stony Brook could be a win. Army should be a win. Loyola should be a win. I don't think they're really that strong this year. St. John's should be a win. Utah should be a win. Princeton, probably the first tough matchup they have, followed by UMass and Ohio State. Drip King's great, but I don't know if he's really going to be able to beat Rutgers. And Ohio State, I think that's probably one of their first, second, or third losses. I think they're going to start off really strong. I think only really at the end of the season when they play Maryland are they going to kind of see what they're all about. So for me, things are looking great.
Yeah, definitely exciting across the board for everybody, even Hopkins fans.
Hopkins.
Good seeing them back with a big win.
They don't have to play Rutgers until January, February, March, April 1st. So when you find out that you win, you know that it was a joke because it was April Fool's.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm clowning.
But I mean, that's what 3 months for us to get our stuff, for us to get together and figure it out. I think we can do it by then.
Yeah. Maybe. We transfer port's closed, so.
I mean, we definitely have a tough schedule, but I think hopefully we can figure it out. I doubt it, but we'll see.
Definitely will be exciting all season. Will definitely be great getting to watch lacrosse as a whole. So what do you guys think your Final Fours are going to be? We'll start with you, Eli. What do you think the Final Four is going to boil down to whenever we get to championship weekend?
So it's so hard because it always comes down to who's in what bracket, right? I think that Virginia, Maryland, Cornell, and Rutgers are my picks. Rutgers probably shouldn't be there, but I want them to be, and so we're going to put them there.
Good little homer pick,
Absolutely.
Can't go wrong.
And then I think Cornell's going to get in because of the way the brackets work with IVs and dividing stuff up. I think they're just that dominant, and they're going to make it. What about y'all?
I would say for me, definitely got to put Notre Dame up there.
Homer pick?
Homer pick, but also based on some fact for sure.
Oh, they definitely could be. It's a very realistic homer pick.
I think you got to say Maryland. You got to say Virginia. I think that takes care of the two ACC teams right there and a Big Ten team. And I'm gonna say Cornell as well. I think after a huge year last year, they've lost a few people, but people they have are only going to get better. They got CJ Kirst over there, filthy attackman. So excited to see how he plays. I would like to.
You know where his brother played, right?
Yeah, huge family.
Big lacrosse guys.
Brother's big Rutgers goalie. Unfortunately, couldn't get it done last year against his brother.
Hey.
But we'll for sure be excited to see Cornell. I'd really like to put Georgetown in there, but with the pretty disappointing play they had last year in the tournament, it's tough to just say yep, they'll be there because
do you think they'll be frauds if they're not? Do you think it's a fraudulent season to quote some other lacrosse podcasters?
I don't know. I think we'll have to see. I think they'll definitely go deeper this year.
What does it mean if they don't go deep though for the legacy?
I mean, I think that could be really devastating to that program because they're doing something right to draw all these transfers in. They're doing something right to get a lot of good recruits. But if they can't win, they're not going to be able to maintain that. So.
Absolutely.
So what are your picks here, Brady? What are you thinking?
I mean, as both of you guys have already stated, I think Maryland and Virginia definitely number one, number two. There's no doubt about it. As for my bottom two for the Final Four, some hot takes here. I know we just talked about Georgetown. I think they can do it this year.
No, I think they have full capability. They just gotta get over that.
There's no historical precedent yet.
Yeah, exactly. Which is
they
why
have
I
the
think
potential.
Yeah, exactly, absolutely.
And I think I have to put just at a nowhere team. I think I have to go Delaware because
Homer pick.
Yeah, I am from the Delaware, Maryland area, so yes, for sure. But I mean, last season they did great. I mean, they beat Towson.
Yeah, definitely got some studs on that team. The showing they put on against Georgetown, absolutely electric.
Yeah, that was actually
such an exciting team to watch. So, I mean, that would be great to see the Blue Hens up there. But.
Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of my throw in. I honestly, whether they get in there or not, I don't think they will, but I'd love to see the Blue Hens climb that far.
I mean, I'm all for the best teams playing come championship weekend, but really, I want to see dark horses. I love an underdog story. I'm from Philly. We love the kind of Rocky-esque climb to the top from the bottom. And so we see Delaware, we see Rutgers, we see programs like that don't really have the same legacy as places like Virginia and Maryland. I think that's dope. I think that's absolutely sick.
Absolutely. I mean, and plus after Maryland's big season last year, going 18-0, I think there's a chance that some of these underdogs are really hungry and want to win that.
It's tough. It's tough to stay perfect, especially for so long. Granted, they only lost one game the year prior, but being almost perfect for 2 years, it's a tough weight to hold, and you're making a lot of other teams hungry. A lot of other teams hate you. A lot of other teams get excited to beat you. So, yeah, it's exciting. Should be good. Definitely a lot of dark horse options, especially through the Ivy League, as competitive as that is. I think we could see any Ivy League team.
So, other than Dartmouth.
Other than Dartmouth, and maybe even Brown this year. Obviously, they had a really great season last year, but couldn't get it done with Virginia in the first round. But I think
no one's going to get it done with Virginia in the first round. Really.
I think the Ivy could have just about anybody in the Final Four. So
yeah,
maybe not Penn.
All right. Well, we'll see. But on that note, I think we're gonna have to say goodbye. Thank you for listening in. Yeah, and hope you have a great day.
Yep. Take it easy.
Peace out. Bye.